The Middle East is once again teetering on the brink of a major conflagration. Recent events, including the targeted killing of a senior Hamas leader, have dramatically escalated tensions between Israel and its adversaries. The specter of a wider conflict looms large, threatening to engulf the entire region in a devastating new chapter of violence. This essay will examine the key events leading up to this escalation, analyze the potential consequences of a full-scale war, and explore the broader implications for regional stability and international relations. The Israeli-Palestinian conflict, a seemingly intractable struggle with roots stretching back over a century, lies at the heart of this current crisis. Despite numerous attempts at negotiation and peace accords, the two sides remain locked in a bitter cycle of violence and mistrust. The recent escalation can be traced back to insert specific event or series of events that you want to highlight. This incident, which resulted in, describe the outcome of the event, sparked outrage and condemnation from Palestinian factions and their allies. Adding fuel to the fire is the complex geopolitical landscape of the Middle East, where regional rivalries and proxy wars often exacerbate existing tensions. The role of Iran, with its unwavering support for groups like Hezbollah and Hamas, cannot be overstated. Tehran's influence in the region, often seen as a destabilizing force by Israel and its Western allies, has become increasingly pronounced in recent years. As the situation continues to deteriorate, the international community faces an urgent challenge in defusing the crisis and preventing further bloodshed. The specter of a wider conflict, one with the potential to draw in regional and global powers, is a sobering reminder of the fragility of peace in this volatile part of the world. The coming days and weeks will be critical in determining whether diplomacy and restraint can prevail or whether the Middle East will once again be engulfed in the flames of war. October 18, 2024, will be etched in the annals of Middle Eastern history as a day that brought the region perilously close to the abyss of war. What began as targeted airstrikes by the Israeli Air Force against alleged Hamas facilities in Gaza quickly spiraled into a deadly exchange of fire, claiming the lives of both militants and civilians. The situation escalated dramatically when one of the Israeli missiles struck a high-level meeting of Hamas commanders, instantly killing a senior leader of the organization. The targeted killing of the Hamas leader, whose name was quickly circulated by both Israeli and Palestinian sources, sent shockwaves through the region. While Israel defended the strike as a necessary act of self-defense against a dangerous terrorist operative, Palestinians decried it as an act of aggression and an extrajudicial assassination. The incident, broadcast on news channels around the world, showed the mangled remains of vehicles and buildings, painting a grim picture of the escalating conflict. International condemnation of the Israeli airstrikes was swift, with many world leaders expressing alarm at the escalating violence and calling for restraint from all sides. The United Nations Security Council convened an emergency meeting to address the crisis. But, as so often happens, the body was deeply divided, with the United States blocking a proposed resolution condemning the Israeli strikes. As the dust settled on that fateful October day, the Middle East found itself teetering on the precipice of a wider war. The question on everyone's mind was whether this latest round of bloodletting would prove to be a tragic but isolated incident, or the opening salvo in a new and even more devastating chapter of the Israeli-Palestinian conflict. To fully grasp the gravity of the current situation in the Middle East, it is essential to understand the dynamics of the so-called axis of resistance. This alliance, comprising Iran, Hezbollah and Hamas, poses a significant challenge to Israeli hegemony in the region and plays a pivotal role in shaping the contours of the conflict. Iran, the Islamic Republic ruled by a Shiite theocracy, stands as the ideological linchpin of this alliance. The country's supreme leader, Ayatollah Ali Khamenei, has repeatedly called for the destruction of Israel, which he views as an illegitimate entity. Tehran provides substantial financial and military aid to both Hezbollah and Hamas, bolstering their capabilities and enabling them to pose a credible threat to Israel. Hezbollah, Arabic for Party of God, is a Shiite Islamist political party and militant group based in Lebanon. Founded in the 1980s with Iranian support, Hezbollah has evolved into a formidable fighting force capable of launching sophisticated attacks against Israel. The group's arsenal, believed to include tens of thousands of missiles, poses a significant threat to Israeli population centers and military installations. Hamas, an acronym for the Islamic Resistance Movement, is a Palestinian Sunni Islamic fundamentalist organization that governs the Gaza Strip. Hamas came to power in a 2006 election, but has been locked in a bitter power struggle with the rival Fatah faction, which controls the West Bank. Like Hezbollah, Hamas receives substantial support from Iran, which has enabled the group to maintain its grip on Gaza and resist Israeli attempts to dismantle its military infrastructure. The axis of resistance operates on the principle of mutual support and solidarity, presenting a united front against what they perceive as Israeli aggression and Western imperialism. While the level of coordination and operational control within the alliance remains a subject of debate among analysts, there is no doubt that the three actors share a common enemy in Israel and a commitment to resisting its regional dominance. Section 4. Vows of retribution. Hezbollah and Hamas respond. The targeted killing of the Hamas leader on October 18th sent shockwaves through the region, prompting swift and furious responses from both Hamas and Hezbollah. Condemnations poured in from across the Arab and Muslim world, with many leaders calling for retaliation against Israel. Hamas, reeling from the loss of one of its top commanders, wasted no time in vowing revenge. Within hours of the airstrikes, the group's leader, Ismail Haniyeh, delivered a fiery speech declaring that Israel had crossed a red line and would pay a heavy price for its actions. Rockets were soon fired from Gaza into Israeli territory, setting off air raid sirens and sending residents scrambling for shelter. Although most of these initial rockets were intercepted by Israel's Iron Dome defense system, they served as a potent symbol of Hamas's resolve to retaliate. Meanwhile, Hezbollah, Hamas's steadfast ally in Lebanon, also issued a statement condemning the Israeli strikes and pledging unwavering support for the Palestinian resistance. While stopping short of directly threatening an immediate attack, Hezbollah leader Hassan Nasrallah warned that Israel would face the consequences of its actions. Hezbollah's ominous pronouncements, coupled with the group's proven track record of launching devastating attacks against Israel, significantly heightened fears of a wider regional conflict. The coordinated response from Hamas and Hezbollah underscored the strength of their alliance and the potential for the current crisis to escalate beyond the Gaza Strip. With both groups vowing revenge and the Israeli military on high alert, the region braced itself for the possibility of a wider conflagration. Section 5. Brink of war. Assessing the potential fallout. As tensions soared in the wake of the October 18th airstrikes and the subsequent retaliatory attacks, the Middle East found itself standing precariously on the brink of a full-scale war. The potential consequences of such a conflict are nothing short of catastrophic, not just for the immediate belligerents, but for the entire region and beyond. A wider war involving Israel, Hezbollah and Hamas would likely be characterized by intense fighting on multiple fronts. Israel, with its advanced military capabilities, would undoubtedly seek to inflict maximum damage on its enemy's infrastructure and military assets. However, both Hezbollah and Hamas possess a vast arsenal of rockets and missiles capable of striking deep within Israeli territory, potentially causing significant civilian casualties and disrupting daily life. The conflict would have devastating humanitarian consequences. Millions of civilians in Gaza, Lebanon and Israel would be caught in the crossfire, facing the terrifying prospect of indiscriminate bombardment, displacement and a complete breakdown of essential services. The already dire humanitarian situation in Gaza, exacerbated by years of blockade and conflict, would spiral into a full-blown catastrophe. The economic fallout of a regional war would be equally severe. The conflict would disrupt crucial shipping lanes in the eastern Mediterranean, impacting global trade and energy markets. Tourism, a vital source of income for many countries in the region, would come to a standstill. The cost of reconstruction in the aftermath of such a conflict would be astronomical, further straining the resources of already struggling economies. Perhaps most worryingly, a wider war in the Middle East could draw in regional and global powers, potentially igniting a broader conflagration with unpredictable and potentially catastrophic consequences. The risk of miscalculation and escalation would be extremely high, raising the specter of a conflict that could spiral out of control.